So I found a really interesting article that CNN wrote, which feels so funny to me because CNN put out this article recently about how news outlets are all going under because advertisers are now favoring social media instead of outlets.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
But the funny thing is that they're citing how they're like kind of trying to throw a little bit of shade that it's a bad move because they're like, all these advertisers are now going to social media platforms that are allowing harmful content to live on their platform, whereas news outlets were never allowed to even have these types of things and would get in big trouble if they did that.
Oh, shut up.
Yeah. So they're citing how like the Messenger is going under, Vice is firing like hundreds of people.
I thought Vice was already done.
No, they're changing their business model. They're not like done. They're just like they're losing a lot of people on the news side.
I see.
And then BuzzFeed News, of course.
They're raising capital.
Too did layoffs too.
Yeah. So like all these advertisers are leaving, and they're kind of. It almost sounds like it's their last stand to be like, you guys are gonna be sorry.
Yeah.
Goodness, I mean, thank God, dude. Fucking old school media is so annoying, man. I think we've all known growing up that was full of shit, right? And then so that announcer voice, that media voice, it's kind of synonymous with lies. Like when you hear like
it's a bad connotation now.
yeah.
Tuning in at Channel 5. You're like, yeah. And then they're like, you can trust me right now. I'll never lie to you. And they're like,
And then there's like 50 of the same thing verbatim together as a collage.
And even
Those
their
are always
format,
crazy.
because you know how their format is based on commercial breaks, right? So they have like very limited time. It's not like podcasts where we can go for 4 hours straight and really develop a thought. So they're kind of forced to go through these like kind of trying to get gotcha moments.
yeah, sound bites.
Sound bites, and then obviously they have to play nice with their sponsors, and so they have to construct this narrative of like good, bad, make it super simple, and you don't really get anywhere with that. It's just like really shady. So then you just end up like bulldozing conversations, like trying to make someone look like a bad person or whatever, and then there's no real like. And then I think what the effects of that is it just seems like they're a bunch of liars and it sucks, and you don't really get news out of it.
Do you think, what about on the social media side of news, what do you think the drawbacks are for people consuming their news primarily on just Instagram, Snapchat?
People do it on TikTok too now.
Yeah,
A lot of
TikTok,
Gen
yeah.
Zs,
There's no verification process, which we don't have that with like traditional mainstream media or anything like that sometimes too.
Either.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, you know, you'll see it on like X, right? You'll see it on Twitter sometimes. Like somebody will say some shit and then they'll have like a verification and fact check. So it's like, I think if that is consistent, then it's like I can believe the news. Anything outside of that, I never fucking need to believe it. Outside of the fact that we do JKnews, so I don't give a fuck if it's real. I just think if it's funny, it's cool.
Yeah. I think more importantly is people challenging their own biases.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important, regardless of where you get the news from, so that you can hear more sides and also draw your own conclusions. Versus like you just kind of go deep into a one-sided rabbit hole, and then you have like giant blind spots in the way you're able to kind of like analyze situations.
I think it was during the Clinton administration, but basically they lifted this rule where news stations had to report 30% of the opposing idea. So up until then, like let's say you were a more left-leaning channel, you had to report upon like 30% of the right side and vice versa, right? So it got to the point where when they lifted that, then you can just report whatever that is biased toward your side. Yeah,
like I follow a ton of pages that I fucking hate. Like there's one page I follow, they're like this pro-feminism page where every one of the chicks on that page has bushy armpits. But I like to see what they're posting just so I can know like what other thoughts and schools of thought actually like exist, so it can challenge the way that I think about things.
Bart's like, man, I hate this. Double tap.
I share. They're like, ooh, this guy likes us.
He comments, keep it up, yo.
Yeah, like
Ass girl.
LOL's true. When you think about the news, right? Like people think that's unbiased information of events that happened. but I see it as still entertainment because you gotta capture someone's attention and keep them tuned in.
Yeah.
So the
Still
more
playing the same game.
wow factor it has, the more they're gonna tune into that channel.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no matter what, it's still kind of biased. And then if you're sponsored by Pfizer, then no one's gonna want to talk about Pfizer if it's harmful.
Yeah.
Because it's your lifeline. So I'm like, how do you remove all of that and have something that's factual or unbiased or just reporting?
That's the tough part where I think like you know
It's
like
boring.
Yeah, like if you understand copy, right? You could read 2 sentences and you're like, oh, this thing's very emotionally charged. But at the same time, it's entertaining, which helps people read the news. And there's a bunch of those other pages that I read where they're like, in the military, you write reports called sit reps, which is situation reports. And it's literally like subject, verb, incidents, date and time, location, whatever.
Right, yeah.
And I follow a bunch of those news pages too. And you kind of have, it's the most boring read ever, but it is the most unbiased way.
That's like a scientific journal. It's like this research had this and this, whatever, right?
It's kind of tough where it's like, if it's like this, probably no one's ever gonna care about anything.
gonna care, yeah.
But then if it's like this, then they're caring about the wrong thing all the time. It's like, what the fuck should we be doing? I don't even know.
I do think, regardless whether it's national news publications or individual creators, as you said, everyone, you have to make your news funnier and more optimized for engagement. And I think regardless of whether you do it on your own or with a journalistic organization, that's a pressure everyone's feeling a little bit more. And that to me, it's one, a little bit scary because everything now is optimized more for clickbait. And two, to your point, it actually puts more responsibility on everyone watching and looking at the news. Because, yeah, everyone gets to have perspective and be more free, but everyone's optimizing for more engagement. You now have to select and set your algorithm to give you those opposing viewpoints, because if you don't, I actually think you're worse off than in a pre-social media world.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because you're in a, what do you call it, that tunnel?
Tunnel vision,
Yeah.
Here's a concept too, though. You think about like how you grow up with your medium. Like I think I always talk about how like, you know, my mom or my parents, they'll listen to like Vietnamese radio or news, or they'll just watch traditional news channels. They're rarely gonna go on like social media to start picking up things like Vice or BuzzFeed News or anything like that. That was our generation. Just as much as now we're talking about those companies pivoting, because there's different types of way that people, younger people, are probably taking in their news content, right? But the older people or boomers and stuff, they're probably still taking it in the older way. And just like people were trading stock markets on paper back in the day, all those people are too old to do that shit now, and then it moved to things like E-Trade or whatever, or tickers, and then now that's also moving over to things like, you know, even evolving all the way to crypto and whatever, right? It's like, I think the age that you use that medium, you almost like die with that medium. You know what I'm saying? So it's not to say that everybody is like transitioning. I think people are just getting older with their medium, and the mediums transition out, but younger people,
That's so true. There's a grandpa that lives across the street from me. He's like, look where the wind blew my newspaper. How am I gonna get the news? I was like, I don't know. But then that's his medium though. And so he's like, no, the news is getting away. Ah!
There's a saying actually from a media theorist where he says the medium is the message. And what he means by that is the very way that news is transmitted actually changes how news is made. As an example, the Nixon-Kennedy debates were one of the very first ones that were televised. And people say that actually changed the outcome of the election. Normally it would have been over radio, but over television, people are like, I see JFK, who's a good-looking motherfucker, and I see Nixon, who is not. And they're like, all right, well, I'm gonna vote for that guy.
It's video killed the radio star, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like, not only, to your point, people age out, mediums get older, but the new ones, it's just changing to what you said. Now it's all more clickbaity because you have to if you want to be heard on TikTok.
That's why all the weather girls are so hot now.
That's the move, huh?
I think hot girls is always gonna work though. I don't think that'll ever get phased.
But all of them
that
are
all the
like
time.
curvaceous, like crazy.
Telemundo though, because that's not fair.
No, just regular shit. Like, because Jill's mom watches regular news, right? And I'm like, even regular news? Like, they're like talking, and her fucking titties are all huge on Tuesday, whatever, and they turn this way, and it's like, ba-ba-bam, too. And you're like, what the?
We are definitely becoming idiocracy.
This is crazy.
But those things, same thing though. Everything will phase in and out. You know what I mean? And it's just 20 years from now or 10 years from now, because technology especially is fucking exponential, so the curves are changing even crazier and faster than we're aging. Like, I'm sure people are going to consume the news even differently in like 10 years.
Yeah, and I think the consumer's becoming more intelligent, right? I mean, there are a bunch of dumbasses, but still, at least there's enough of people to kind of like the whole X's response thing. There's enough smart people to go and like do a community note on it.
I think the smarter people are getting less, and dumber people are growing
100%.
exponentially.
So it's averaging.
There's probably more dumb people now, and the smarter people are fewer, but those smarter people are even smarter.
Well, like you said about social media, it's like it is such a responsibility. Like you do have a responsibility to sift through all the stuff that you are taking in, and basing your life off of, right? So it's like, if you're not very that intelligent like this guy right here, you accept anything. You're like, oh yeah, I guess that's true.
But to even get that intelligent, you have to sift through so much dumb shit to figure out how to become intelligent.
Because it's such a superpower, we do have more of a responsibility to like do this for ourselves. But unfortunately, it's like
I still feel like
nobody wants to do
with
that.
the sifting, people are just pressured, I think, in different ways now. Like when you look at the COVID response, a lot of people felt the way they did because of pressure, not necessarily because of their own result of discernment. They were just like, oh, we all hate this guy now.
Yeah, fuck this guy.
And it was like, whoa, hold on.
Yeah, that's true. It became herd mentality rather than like, hey, let's sit down and like, we're making the right decision.
Everybody came out of that going, here's what I got out of it.
That's
it's like
true,
they were just like, oh, my friends and family think this.
What's also really interesting, you mentioned before YouTube, you have like 90% margin. You said all these traditional news organizations are dying. So not only is there this thought of, hey, just like as a viewer, how do I get my news? But there's also the people making the news. How come in YouTube you can make money and all these big media organizations are just dying? Like, what are they doing wrong that you think you get because you're just guys in front of a camera?
Their costs are way higher. But at the same time, their brand deals are way higher too.
Sure, yeah.
So a lot of them, I think their business model's completely different.
Well, also, that's why I think CNN's funny, because what they're trying to say is that, like, hey, advertisers that are going to, social media, your dollars are going to be in danger a little more because it's more of a Wild West.
But I heard CNN makes money a different way. Like their biggest way was to license. So they didn't give a damn about views and all kinds of other things because they control so much like original raw footage or like news and stuff. Yeah,
the actual properties to the
to the stories.
Well, didn't they close? They had like another branch that they tried to open and it closed within like a year.
Oh, that was the app.
The app, yeah.
Their app went horrible. Yeah.
Oh, there's streaming service.
Yeah, So the CNN Plus.
It's funny, like CNN is talking about this, and they're reporting it as news, and we're talking about.
That's what I think is so funny about it. I think it's funny for them to like say that in that form.
Yeah, they're doing the same. They're just getting the news out, and we're talking about it, so they fucking win.
How long do you guys think these outlets are gonna survive?
5 years.
5 years?
But most of them aren't profitable. Most of them are shutting down.
Yeah. A lot of
Washington
them are.
Post also. There's, Bezos is apparently like, I thought I could make this profitable because I'm Jeff Bezos, and now it's like, shit, it's still not.
Yeah.
Like, even he couldn't fix it.
Yeah.
It says hundreds of them have gone down, have shut down.
Well, because who's buying newspapers?
The guy across the street.
Yeah, the one dude. It's flying away.
Their customer base is literally dying.
He's the last pillar holding it up, man.
Same with CNN, right? Yeah. I'm sure all the people that watch CNN are like a lot older. They're gonna be dying out too.
I mean, there's definitely a wide distrust, I guess, that kind of spreads around. But also, at least with social media, you can pick and choose so many different.
I'll just follow them on Instagram instead.
Yeah.